in the West, to deny the Holocaust is social suicide. The Muslim world has a different issue, but in the West you really can't get away with it. By contrast, in India, it's the done thing to deny what happened. And so there is no martyrdom involved. On the contrary, it's a good career move. It's the official policy since independence. First Education Minister Maulana Azad, first Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru were adamant about whitewashing this history, about shielding the Muslim community from historical criticism. And it happened in a far more organized manner with rewritten history textbooks, with strong party line being followed in movies, in cultural production, since about 1970. The two main names there are P.N. Haksar, the political secretary of Prime Minister Indira Gandhi, and Nurul Hassan, the education minister. This had to do with Indira Gandhi's own troubles within the Congress party. So she needed allies. She found allies in the communists, who, I say for the Westerners among the audience, communism is a very important, very powerful movement in India. Now it's been wiped more or less from the parliament, but it's still powerful in a few states. And so then she relied on communist support to win her intra-party power struggle. And so the deal with the communists was that she and the Congress party could have all the public positions and the TV appearances and all that. But the actual cultural power would reside with the communists. And because they really power, they don't mean just office, they mean power. So they are perfectly ready to be in the background, not to show their faces, not to have name recognition or so, but to actually influence the policies that are being implemented. So they practice this negationism, and of course it's a real question why communists would do that, to whitewash a religion, even though Karl Marx was very skeptical of religion. But that's what happened. Many common people, without any evil intent, simply followed the policy of the government, having trust in their government, in those who have been given authority. So very many people, good people, nice people, nevertheless followed this policy. And so here I have to repeat what I just said. There are some real liars involved, but mostly it is wishful thinking. People wish that it had never happened, and so they start writing textbooks claiming that it had never happened. You have the moderate Muslims who have an idealized and nice view of Islam, and so they don't want this to have happened. They don't want to tear through their idealized view of Islam. Among Gandhians, you have a similar attitude. They also have a very rosy picture of Islam. Like you see, Gandhi said, I've read the Quran, I know that there's nothing fanatical about it, whereas there are many calls for jihad within the Quran. So you have many followers who practice this and who worsen it, in fact, by a certain Hindu masochism, who like to take the blame on themselves rather than seeing it in others. The communists had, moreover, the mythic assumption that Islam came to uplift the masses. You see, there's something very common among secularists, that they don't take religion serious, that they just don't understand the psychology of the believers. They think that, religion is just a mask for social forces, for economic rivalry. In a few cases that really happens, but that's generally not the explanation. I mean, A very striking example is Osama bin Laden. You see, he was an engineer and a millionaire, and he had big companies and so on, and he had a good life. He had 5 wives and, you know, everything going for him, and then he gave it all up, and he invested billions in the jihad struggle, and he went to live in a cave in Afghanistan with, you know, bullets flying around him all the time. So you see, this happens, you know, some people do not use religion for money. No, they use money for religion. Okay, so this may help explain the communist incomprehension of religious phenomena. Then many of the Nehruvians feared that true history may trigger conflicts because Hindus may want to take revenge. No, I've never seen them take revenge, certainly not for historical events. In the partition, you could say, yes, some Hindus who had to flee from Punjab or from Sindh took revenge once they had arrived in Gujarat or in Delhi or so. There are some cases. But you see, to take revenge for what Aurangzeb or Mahmud Ghaznavi or so did, I've never heard of it. Then you have an increasing phenomenon of Hinduphobia, as Hindus call it, hatred of Hinduism. So the word Hinduphobia is not entirely correct. Phobia means fear, and moreover the term is mostly used to indicate a pathological phenomenon. You know, mental disease is very common nowadays, Hinduphobia or Hindumisia. That means hatred of Hinduism. And so many people are simply against any Hindu project, whether it is Hindu history rewriting or regaining control over their own temples or regaining access to education and so on. They are just against anything that has the name tag Hindu on it. And then you also have lazy-minded secularists and religious sentimentalists who think that all religions are the same. And so they don't take religious concepts that entail conflict seriously, like jihad. And so they think that jihad is something that exists in all religions, which is not true. The Indian concept of dharma yuddha, war of righteousness or just war, does not mean jihad, does not mean a war against the unbelievers.